Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andy Coronado, and tonight on the show, we discuss CF Montreal's training camp and match against Orlando, CF Montreal's not so new signings, Rose's FC squad taking shape, all that and a lot more on episode 213 of The Ball is Round. Hello, everyone. Before we start, I just want to let you guys know that Hattie will be back with us next week. We had a little bit of a scheduling issue, but the show must go on. Just can't wait. Elias, how
Here
you
we are.
doing, man? It's Super Bowl
Super Bowl
weekend.
Sunday.
It's Super Bowl Sunday. We did it a little bit early, so we hope our we can already see some of our listeners already here. Thank you so much for making the sacrifice of
Hello, Ali. Thank you for coming.
joining us today. We appreciate that, and we're gonna give you guys the same show that we would do at 7:30 p.m. at 4 p.m. with the same energy, except I
Just
think
with daylight outside.
yeah, I think there's actually light outside my
Do you remember
window
the
when I'm
last time we had a
doing it.
show with the when there was light outside? Oh,
That's a little bit weird, but we'll get through it. So, um, as you guys can see, I'm joined with Elias. Elias, how you been, man? I already asked you how you doing. Are
doing
you are
good.
you watching the game? Are you watching the Super Bowl game, by
What's
chance?
hap- Oh, yeah, I'm watching the Super Bowl, of course.
Okay,
Well, I
who you
mean,
going for?
I'm not the biggest football fan in the world.
Mhm,
American football,
mhm.
but it's a good excuse to be around friends and family and watch sports and
Just say you're going
eat an
for the beer,
ungodly
man.
amount of calories.
Just say you're going for the beer, man. You're going for the beer. You're going for the food.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know, but I don't know what gave you that insane idea.
All
What were
right,
we talking about?
maybe I'm speaking about it. Anyways, Barcelona is playing as we speak, but Elias, you know, I need your focus. I need you 100% here.
I'm always
So
100% here. You can handle my 100% attention, Andy.
so we're at halftime 1-1 against Sevilla. I'm sure if you guys see Elias Twitch at any point or maybe have a tear stream down his face, you guys will know what's going on.
I'll mute
But
myself. It's okay.
random mute. For me, but Bayern beat Werder Bremen 3-0.
Werder Bremen.
We're still in first place. And you know what? I
Okay.
should have taken the chance to do this. Maybe you did this, but I did not see what Marseille did. Oh, they're playing right now. Okay, against Angers. So 0-0. We'll see. Hadi is probably more focused on that than our beautiful faces. So so that's that. Anyways, yeah, so we're excited. So Super Bowl Sunday, excited to give you guys a show. A lot of things that happened over the week that we're going to talk about today.
Absolutely.
But first things first, training camp and the Orlando
Yes.
game for CF Montreal. Elias, we're 14 days away from the first game of the season for CF Montreal against Atlanta. And how are you feeling about the team today? Today, right now, how you feeling?
I hate it. I hate not being able to know as much as we have in years past when you can go to training camp as often as you want or as often as they allow you to go and kind of get a sense of who's playing well, why they're playing well, how they're playing, what kind of connections are being formed. We got a little snippet. We got a week-long snippet just to kind of like reel us back in and get us hooked again. And then they just go and leave. And now I'm stuck going, here's a minute and a half highlight video to kind of just
Get your
to
dose.
re-up
Get
a
your
little bit.
dose.
Uh no, look, we're gonna talk a bit about all that after. But
Yeah.
I'm happy that they're scoring goals. CF Montreal go making a very good point. Dominic Yankov is better
We'll
than
get
Jesus
we'll,
Stoichkov.
we'll
I don't know.
get
I
to
mean,
that. We'll get to that. A lot to say about
Barcelona legend,
that. Yeah.
but Dominic Yankov is scoring in preseason. I all I know is he has more goals than Stoichkov has this century. So that's all. But
Yeah.
no, I think that it's too early to tell. I think that Orlando game, even if you look at the highlights, right? Orlando had a lot of good chances they missed. 2-1 is not necessarily a telling score. And again, thank you RDS for providing some kind of highlight reel, but you can't draw any conclusions from that.
Oh man, you're gonna get me started already, Elias. Oh my
Let's
god.
get into it. Let's get into
Let's
it.
dive right into it. Look, guys, I said earlier on Twitter, and I spoke about this with Elias before the show, right? We did want to talk about this because it's important. It's important. I think it's important. It's the sporting field, right? I said that I wanted to give my opinion on this, and
Hmm.
first things first, I want to say, and what the topic we're talking about is the as many of us know, the RDS was refused to stream to stream the game for the preseason game for us fans, those that like to watch the team. And from what we were told, Elias, this wasn't on CF Montreal. There
No,
was
they wanted it. It was a
they
league
wanted
thing.
to do this. They did it. It went a lot deeper. And I just want to do like kind of a tiny little rant that is not focused on CF Montreal, but mostly focused on the MLS. Okay. And the reason why, Elias, is today's Super Bowl Sunday. Everybody's watching the game. Almost the whole world is watching this game. But there's a lot of Kansas City Chiefs fans and Philadelphia Eagles fans that don't necessarily say focus on this game so much, but they focused on in August and June when these preseason games are happening. And the reason why is because just like in the MLS, the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, they all, and even NHL, they all have preseason signings. They have off-season signings that bring hype to the team, that bring excitement. If you've had a bad season in the past, in the last season, then the preseason is that opportunity to hype up the fans and give the
Yeah.
opportunity for the fans to um, be able to in the NFL. Guys, I don't know if you've ever seen a preseason game. I know, as you guys can see, I'm a hardcore Miami Dolphins fan, and whenever they do an offseason signing, that starting quarterback or that starter receiver, whatever it may be, they might be in their lives for one play, one drive, because
Yeah.
they don't want to risk any injury. We eat it up, Elias. We eat up that moment. We eat it up, and it hypes us up for like, oh man, I can't wait 3 weeks from now to see him play a full game. Same thing with the NBA and NHL. I can't wait to see them play the whole game in it. But at least you hype them up. Are we? Yes. Is there? Are we seeing what kind of maybe plays they're doing? What kind? Yes, we are. But that's not the point. You're bringing some of that hype, and this goes for MLS. Let's not get into that, okay? That's another podcast. But but yes, the Dolphins are horrible. Anyways, so the point being is, like, the amount of hype that you can bring to your team. It could be Inter Miami, it could be Portland Timbers, it could be LA Galaxy. There needs to be some kind of dedication to hyping up the fans, and that starts with exposing them to preseason games where you can see the new players. You can see maybe a coach start changing on. Yes, are other teams watching? 100% of the other teams are watching, but that's not the point. The point is, as fans, you gotta allow them to have that liberty to get excited about their team. And anyway, so that's again going very on a very global point of view. And I understand that soccer around the world doesn't necessarily do that, and that's okay. But we are in North America. We're in the along with the United States. The MLS is a United States sport, and that's something that's very, very important to them. So, Elias, I think that's the end of my rant. I really wanted to emphasize how important it is to prioritize giving even local stations, RDS, TVA, whatever it is, giving them the opportunity to give these fans something to get hyped on. And what do you think, Elias? Again, you don't have to go as long as I did, but
Yeah, I was disappointed, not in the fact that there was no live stream of the game. I've come to expect that. Most Montreal fans have come to expect that. It's the fact that we were almost fed like this false hope. And again, this is not an insult, or this is not a knock against Nicolas Andre and Alex, who the RDS reporters, who kind of told
yeah,
us that, because they were told that they could, and then they were made aware after the fact that they couldn't. So this is not their fault. They were just told afterwards. So I mean, I got my hopes up. I think a lot of fans, the thing they're most annoyed about is the fact that they did get their hopes up. Right. So I'm like, I get to watch a CF Montreal game again. Thank God. And then it's like, no,
yeah.
smack in the face.
It really
So
was, and we retweeted it. People went crazy. The excitement
yeah,
was there. The hype was there. We get to see the preseason game
my
after the little
disappointment
snippets.
is immeasurable and my day is ruined. And And there's a lot of people talking. Yes, Atlanta, New England was
Yeah,
available.
good.
Austin, St. Louis was available. We saw last year Atlanta live streamed some preseason games. That's the only way we got to see a CF Montreal game last year was through the Atlanta stream. They kept crashing. Remember that was fun,
Yeah,
but so certain teams do it. Apparently, other teams don't. So I think it's definitely on a case by case basis for some teams. From what I'm hearing here, Martin talking about how it got offered on site for certain season ticket. That's on site. I don't think that's going to change.
yeah,
People getting to watch the game. It sounds like it was a league thing because either maybe it was last minute, or maybe they didn't get the rights cleared, or maybe this, that, and the other. Maybe it was at their home stadium and not a training ground, and they had to do certain clearances. I'm not sure, right? And realistically, we probably won't ever get a straight answer because this is going to become a non-issue in like a week, right?
yeah,
So at the end of the day, it's more just that I'm a little bit annoyed at the fact that we got our hopes up, and then,
yeah.
um, but yeah,
It
forever
just
I've been
yeah,
used to not seeing CF Montreal preseason games, and if you get one televised or live streamed or whatever off of like a fucking handheld camera, then you'll take what you can get. If it's nothing, it's nothing. I think this is not nothing. This isn't new. The season starts in 2 weeks, for God's sakes, right?
yeah.
I'm more excited for that than
Yeah, no, and exactly, you're absolutely right. We're all excited for the season, guys, and we're seeing so many people going on X or Blue Sky, and they're zooming in on certain clips and zooming. I mean, we're going crazy trying to just find the little smallest detail, but you're kind of enabling this behavior by not giving us much or not allowing us to see anything. So it's, I think the only solution will come, and again, this is a much bigger subject that I'm not going to delve into much, but this the league needs to get involved. The league, because right now the
yeah.
league is not
I don't
involved in
understand why you
preseason.
don't want to market your product, and I talked a bit about it with some friends. Like, I understand if you want to keep some games behind closed doors because there's stuff you want to work on. I get it. But every game, from purely from a marketing perspective, right? You're not the go-to sport in North America. Far from. If you want any kind of possibility to get there, especially when you're flirting with a World Cup year, start marketing your damn sport beyond just Inter Miami and Messi, because all their preseason games were on Apple TV. So you want to watch Inter Miami and Messi, they will roll out the red carpet for you. Because God forbid Messi plays behind closed doors, right? So
What a waste.
so I don't want to make this another whole it's
Yeah,
Messi and prefer. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying they obviously understand why it's important to market preseason games. But why do they feel the need to not market all the teams? You already have the infrastructure. Just get
do it.
someone to. You don't need play-by-play and analysis and graphics and everything. Just have someone with a drone. Even I don't give a shit, and then just upload it. It's that simple. You already have everything set up.
It's silly, man. Like I said, and Elias, you're touching the same thing. It's like give local,
Tomfoolery.
give RDS the, RDS is already there. They have their camera, they have their guy. Like, let them have fun, let them do their thing, and that's what happens with the preseason games in the United States. They get their local stations to air those preseason games, so that, and their local guys, local reporters to do it. Anyways, we're gonna move on because if not, I'm just gonna get angrier and angrier at this.
We'll be here forever.
But to make us happy, well, one of us, not all of us, but your team scored
I'm well aware. I'm
with
well
my
aware.
boy
Don't worry.
Robert
You have my attention.
Lewandowski from Bayern Munich.
You
So,
have my attention. You have got 98% of my
did you guys
attention.
see the Twitch? You guys saw the Twitch that happened?
What?
But anyways, the team started 2 days,
Yeah.
2 days in training camp, and the players and coach have said that this is when the real training camp starts. Yet, Giacomo Vrioni and Jalen Neal are still working on the side, apart from the squad. Elias, is this worrisome? We're getting close, man. Is this worrisome? They keep saying it's super close. It's super close. They're right there. They're almost with, but yet they're still on the side.
We saw the same thing with Joseph Martinez, right? We saw the exact same thing where he was not ready for the beginning of the season and he didn't really play all that much. And then when he did start finally playing regularly, he got hurt. And so this is a very dangerous pattern that they definitely have to avoid. Jalen Neal picked up a little knock. I don't know what's wrong with Giacomo Vrioni. Um,
Yeah,
but we're aware of the current status of Jalen Neal. The fact that still haven't had anything is a little bit concerning because he downplayed it, right? He and Laurent Courtois both said, "Oh, it's nothing. It's just a little pipit." Ah, okay. Well, it's no longer pipit. You've been working on your own for 3 weeks now. So, is there something to actually be concerned about? Or is it really just precautionary? Because we've passed the point of precautionary now. Giacomo Vrioni, he did not come into training camp injured. He was healthy. So there's no way he's this out of shape. I remember 2 years ago, Snoozy came into training camp significantly out of shape. Like this man was fighting for his life, and he got into great. I mean, granted, Snoozy Ibrahim is a physical specimen. He got into shape like this, right? That was not a problem, but he got back to fighting weight quicker than 10 times quicker than Vrioni, and he was in way worse shape. Vrioni still, when he's doing his solo work, he's moving. So there's a very unnerving lack of candor surrounding these two players specifically, that something's not adding up. The math is not mathing, and now I'm allowed to be a little bit concerned. Just a little bit.
Yeah, that's yeah, you're absolutely right, and that's where it's getting for me too. It's a little bit concerning because Giacomo came in with such a high expectations with the DP
Yeah.
title, and Jalen Neal also coming from LA Galaxy. Everybody again, we're not gonna go back to the subject, but the preseason is the chance to see them, maybe the chance to see them get their first minutes and all that, right? But they are not nowhere near the squad, and they're not practicing. So when I saw them last week in Marie-Victorin, and I also saw them on Monday, Jalen Neal, it's clear that it seems like it's an ankle or knee injury, whatever it may
He
be.
told us it was an ankle. It was an ankle.
There you go, an ankle injury, because the stretches
issue.
were very much directed to that. 3-1, and also, but Vrioni, we're not sure what's going on. He doesn't seem to limp anywhere. He doesn't seem to necessarily focus in anything. It's just
It
it's
really does
weird.
seem like getting back in shape work, because I mean, at least from what we saw at Marie Victorin, it's generic. It's just general, building your baseline work, the stuff you do the first week of training camp.
Yeah.
But this is week like 7 now, and this is the third week that he's been with the group. So we're no longer at base building and first week. So either he's injured and it's a
Much
minor
deeper.
thing, or he's like the you can't be this out of shape that it takes you 3 weeks to get back into shape. The training with a squad shape, not playing shape, just training with the squad shape. It's physically impossible for a professional athlete to be this far removed. I don't care if you had 3 months off. That's not how biologically that's not possible, right? So I'm genuinely confused, and I hope we get more information. The Hawk was meeting the media tomorrow afternoon, sorry, after training, and I hope we'll get more. But I mean, this is starting to get borderline frustrating.
Yeah, and if Matias Kokaro complained that he had 3 months of vacation, and now he's at least in the bench for Atlas FC, I don't know what's happening. Let's talk about last night's preseason game. I know we touched on it a little bit, but what were you looking for the most? I know we couldn't see it, but was there anything in particular? Was it the lineups? Was it the score at the end? What were you looking for in the most in this
Starting
preseason game?
lineup looked like it very well could be, besides the wingbacks, because I mean it was Goboglu and Sealy, if I'm not mistaken, that started the game.
Ugh.
The rest of the lineup looked like a starting lineup, right?
Yeah.
You had Sirouan Nets, Alvarez, Waterman, Campbell. You had Piet Saliba. You had Herbers starting, which is very interesting, and it kind of maybe shows where he is in the pecking order. So I think that that's maybe very telling about just how impressive he's been, because he was very impressive at Marie Victorin. He looked composed. He's someone who has figured out the game, and he's one of those players that the reason his versatility is so effective is because he understands how to operate efficiently. And so if you look at that efficiency and maybe that consistency that you can get out of it compared to a Bryce Duke, who maybe in the right situation could play better, but also in other situations could very well play worse, looking for that consistency as a second attacking midfielder, I don't hate it. So that was probably the biggest takeaway for me, is that Fabian Herbers right now looks to be ahead of the other attacking midfielders who are jockeying for the spot next to Caden Clark. And I don't hate that. I really don't hate having more experience on the field, right? In the dressing room is good, but on the field, you need veterans.
And who was next to Herbers was Mahalo Poku, another
Was
surprising.
Yeah.
Rumors that he was going to leave. Yet when we saw him at
Rumors have died
Meribik,
down now, though, right? The rumors have kind of
died down,
gone a little
and
bit
it
quieter.
exactly, and it's also when we saw him at Meribik, and we also heard about his game against Cincinnati, and now against Orlando. He is being featured, as you said. It seems like a starting lineup. I mean, obviously, we do expect to see Caden Clark start. Kind of expect based on his performance last
Last
season,
season.
but I mean, Mahalo Poku is performing, and it really makes that position very very interesting.
Yeah.
And Herbers, it's also, I would say based on the little we saw in training camp, he's not falling behind. He's not saying I came here just to take up a spot. He actually wants to fight for this. So we'll see. It's going to be very fun to see how that develops over time. Um, but yeah, so definitely some of the starting lineups. We definitely had Jean-Paul Sirois in the goal, Petrasso on the right wing back, I want to say, or maybe left back. Waterman, Campbell, Dante Seeley, Samuel Piet, Saliba, Guboglo, I always mess up his name, Herbers, Opoku, and Owosu. Did that look to you like a back four or back three, the starting lineup, Elias?
It all kind of depends on, where they're going to play Alexander Gaboglu. He's a midfielder. He's
It's a
a
little
wing
bit of
back. He's
everything.
kind of that engine that can kind of play a little bit more, kind of a little bit like Mathieu Choignard. Not too dissimilar. And so I think that they did this Luca Petrasso left center back kind of thing because you know how Laurent Courtois loves his left, like his outside center backs to basically turn into fullbacks. Luca Petrasso definitely fits that kind of mold. Um, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're sticking with the back three for now, the 3-4, and then if it's 2-1 or 1-2 depends on the alignment of the planets and all that stuff. But I think that having this many options at wingback is really interesting because
Mhm.
we saw it last year, right? Raheem Edwards did one thing, Tom Pierce did another thing. We saw it with David Bugay and Jahil Marshudi, where they complemented each other in not necessarily both excelling at everything, but they filled the gaps where the other ones left lacking, right?
Yeah.
And now you have people like Dante Seeley and Alexander Goboglu in addition to those roles. You're filling out the wingback position, which is again who's operating by themselves, right? They kind of they have all this work to do on their own if the midfielders stay inside. Um, I really like what I'm seeing with the wingbacks. I think it could be decisive this year.
It is
Right?
such an
Last year they
important
kind of
position.
impacted games and they didn't do anything. That the impact this year it seems like they could consistently do everything.
It's such an important part of Laurent Courtois' game plan, the wingback position, both right and left. I mean, if it's not working, Elias, the game's not going to work. It's as simple as that. The crosses need to come in. They need to be part of the buildup of the game. Like it's just they are essential. So if the team got new players and they're trying to like you said complement each other, it's important to keep an eye on how that wingback position progresses,
Mhm.
whether it's younger players or how they complement each other, because it's going to happen. There's going to be injuries. There's going to be back-to-back games like last year, the Tuesday night game at Forge at Hamilton was crazy, but after a Saturday game, but yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on. Now, something we saw yesterday at the game was the CF Montreal won the game. Won the game. Ça sent la
Ça sent la coupe.
ça sent la coupe. CF Montreal won the game by a score of 2-0, and the
What?
goals were scored by Dominic Yankov and Sunusi Ibrahim in extra
Yeah.
time. Two players that I think we can honestly say, we've spoken about this before, that don't seem to be too high in Laurent Courtois' plan in the upcoming season. Yet, I know I've seen this a little bit in the chat. Owosu seems to be struggling in front of the goal.
Yeah.
There were reports in practice, and I saw it too in practice. Like he seemed to be struggling in front of the goal. But and now you have these two players that seem to be forgotten by many, or maybe rumors of transfers, and they're performing. Elias,
Yeah. Look,
what's the message here? What's
Sunusi Ibrahim has always been that impact sub you kind of put on late in the game, and he immediately affects change, right? Not surprised here that he scored the second goal. If you see the highlights, if you haven't seen the highlights, they're a minute and a half long. You can watch them on RDS's website. Super easy. It looked like he was through on goal. He chipped the goalie who had come out. So it looked like really just, it was what, the 117th minute, if I'm
I
not
didn't
mistaken.
catch who assisted it. Was it Jabang?
I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
it was just a chip over the top. He was through on goal. This looks like a counterattack, because Orlando was throwing numbers forward to kind of get a goal. Um, that's what you want from Sunusi, right? You want someone to kind of relieve pressure. You want someone to have that energy. And at the end of the game, I can't think of anyone better. So that's where he's going to carve out his niche and his minutes. Yeah, Martin Gauthier says yes, it was Usman Jabang. Shout out
Okay,
Usman
good.
Jabang.
Yeah.
But this is where he's
You
going to
see what
carve
I'm
out his
saying though?
minutes.
It's like such a tiny little clip that I have to dissect who it is. I don't even see a number.
And I think that ultimately where he necessarily doesn't have a lot of success getting into the starting lineup, he has his area where Laurent Courtois can trust him because that's what he did last year. So I think that I love what I'm seeing from Jabang. Again, the goal was Vilsain to Yankov, sorry, who had a wide open net. That seemed also like a counterattack. I would have loved to see the build up to that,
Yeah, oh my god.
but we didn't. But the thing is, Jean-Anthony Vilsain showing some composure in front of goal, Dominic Yankov being in the right spot. Those are things that are nice to see. They're taken out of context though, right? But again, like see if Montreal goats said 2 goats. Absolutely, man. Yankov. I mean, Sunusi is the greatest goal scorer for club in Canadian Championship history, and he's one away from the all-time record, right? So and he's like 22, right? He's 21,
Oh,
22. So like,
he's
if
so
he stays
young, man.
longer, he's gonna destroy that record.
Yeah. I don't know. But, again, it's very early on, but definitely like to see. I like to see Vilsain get involved. I did like to see that he had that
Mhm.
assist because it's important. I mean, the guy he needs it this season. He needs it badly. He needs it
But
for
he
himself,
has
for
that
his
ability to be that one man counterattack when he
amen.
wants to, right? When he
Yeah,
gets into open space, when he gets on the ball into open space, he's very difficult to keep down. So I feel like that's gonna be the catchphrase this season. He stays fit, it'll be all right. Everything's gonna be
yeah.
fine.
Well,
Just stay fit.
that's it. Like it's one of those things that he's got the talent. He's proven it over and
Yep.
over again that he's got a special. He's got the speed. He's got the height and everything, but he's got to stay healthy, man. Because when I saw him in training camp, I was surprised. I was like, who is that kid that is moving so comfortably
Yeah.
and just seems to be flying everywhere? And it was Visay. So hopefully, and I'm happy he got that assist. Again, he needs to work not only on his you know, hopefully not getting injuries, but also his self confidence and his body. Yeah, a lot comes in just being confident in using that part of your body or doing certain moves that might not be your everyday moves. That could cause injuries. But something to watch.
Absolutely.
Something I did want to talk about. There was an article. I'm sure a lot of people read it. There was an article written by Nicolas Landry and published in RDS where
We also
Samuel
got a
Piet.
question about it on Twitter.
Yes.
Uncle comments on Marco Donadel, Laurel Biello,
Whoa.
Alessandro Biello. We're gonna
The
talk
middle
about
child.
later.
But yeah, so Samuel Piet confirmed what we've heard from the coach, president, and those observers on camp that the team seems to be prioritizing set pieces and improving on it because, as you guys see, as you guys know, last season it was
Brutal.
the biggest weakness. It was the biggest weakness. The CF Montreal gave up a lot of goals through set pieces. So they seem to be very public and outspoken about how they're prioritizing that this season. Yet yesterday, the only goal they gave up to Orlando, according to the highlights from what I saw, was on a set piece. Is this worrisome, or should the fans be patient and trust that they're working on it? That it's still work in progress. Could there be like maybe some even PTSD from last year of like how terrible they were at set
Yeah,
pieces?
I don't want to beat a dead horse or sound like a broken record, but you know, you can't take that one thing and make a global statement about it, right? We didn't see how many set pieces they defended. We didn't see how they even defended the set piece,
Yeah,
right? From that angle, it's tough to see. So that's kind of the thing, right? You didn't see how they attacked on set piece if they got any chances from any significant chances from set pieces. How the corners were. Dante C looks like he was putting in some really interesting corners. You've got Tom Pierce, who's obviously a very good set piece specialist. It's tough to kind of, and again, say this again, without seeing more footage, it's tough to kind of just say that is still a problem, or oh, they fixed it. Like
Yeah,
Kobe
sometimes those.
Johnson is and David Taylor have been working on set pieces, and they have dedicated a significant portion of man hours to it. So I expect to see some improvement. It's not gonna be overnight, but it's logical.
I mean, the best person to ask about this project is Samuel Piet, so I'm glad they interviewed him on it.
Mhm.
And he said, hey, since 2017, since I've been here, this is the first time we're actually dedicating a whole session to set pieces. It's no longer like, oh, guys, we still got maybe 30 minutes left. Let's just maybe look at this extra part of the game. No, we're gonna dedicate practice today to this. So that's and obviously they chose, as everybody knows, the Kobe Johnson to be the leader of that particular part
Yeah,
of the training. It's important. It shows now what I'm concerned about, Elias, is from here, from the start of the season to say summer, June, whenever the results start becoming real, like you start getting a vision whether you have a future in the playoffs or not. Is the set piece is going to be a major focus in evaluating, say, Laurent Courtois and his coaching staff, or is this something that as long as they're doing well in other phases of the game, we can understand the set piece as not being the
it's
best
only
one.
going to be a major focus
Ooh, red
if
card. Okay, sorry.
yeah. Well,
All right,
we're
sorry.
not talking about Barcelona. I'm not going to get into the analysis of that,
Okay, let's
but
go.
um, the thing is, right? It's only it's only a point of evaluation for Courtois if it's still bad, right? And again, the bar is literally in hell. Just don't be the worst defensive team on set pieces in the league, and you're technically improving, right? At the same time, if they all of a sudden become the best defense or like a top 10 set piece defensive team in the league, then it's a feather in his cap. But if they're just like, they went from last to 20th or, 15th, then yeah, good job. You fixed it. I'm not going to give you flowers. You did your job. You improved it. You dedicated this many man hours to it, and you improved by this much. It's a logical jump. I'm not going to say, oh my God, build the statue, but I'm not going to, I'm not mad at you anymore. Good job. Right. It really is. So like, there's three different ways you could look at it, but I expect them for it to be the latter. I expect them to just improve, as in not be the worst, but I don't think they're going to become this all world fortress when it comes to dead ball. That's
Yeah.
not a thing.
I mean, improvement is the most important. At least be part of the standard. I mean, CF Montreal is going to give up goals on set pieces. Let's just be real. We're not
It's a fact
gonna.
of life. It's soccer.
Yeah, we're not, it just happens with the best clubs in the world. It just does. It's part of the sport, right? But there has to be some kind of improvement. It can't, because just like any. What are we even talking about right now? But yeah, we missed. They missed out on Davies, so let's go for JMR. But
Exactly.
but anyway, so it's one of those things that they just have to be up to par with the rest of the team, so that because any other team around MLS will obviously say what is their weakness. Okay, it's it's their set pieces. Let's literally play for set pieces, because that seems to be the way in for them,
Montreal
and
was getting targeted for that.
yeah, and that's not good. That's really not good. So like, I think we both realize that as long as there's some kind of improvement, we're going to talk a little bit later more about the article, because there are some points that we want to discuss. But we also did hear this week from Vilsain, Duke, Sealy, Bugay, and Coach Courtois giving press conferences. Did you have any takeaways from any of them? Anything that they said, that besides Bryce Duke not having a winter jacket, was there anything else that stood out to you?
That's still so funny to me. He only just moved here, right? It's only been here for like a couple weeks, so
Are you kidding me?
how did he get to training then? I'm not
It's
even.
freaking cold outside, man. Like,
Well, anyway, you know what? More
y-
power to you.
yeah. But
In
anyways,
Arizona, kid, not bothered by the snow enough to not buy a jacket
I
on day
just wore a
one.
bunch of
Hey,
sweaters, man. We're good. Like, no, no, you're not. Take it from a guy from Florida.
yeah.
Anyways,
No,
so
one of
what?
the interesting things that
Yeah.
I heard was I asked Dante Sealy about his connection with
Oh
Fernando
yeah.
Alvarez, and they played in the academy together. They played
I
in
was
the Dallas
surprised.
academy together. So that kind of comfort and integration goes a long way, right? We saw with Caden Clark when he had someone to kind of be comfortable with when he got in. We saw the same thing with Bryce Duke when he was comfortable with Aaron Herrera, right? And it did help Bryce Duke integrate into the group that much quicker. So when you have someone that not only are you playing in close proximity to, but you're also have this close off field, familiarity, it's going to help you integrate that much better. Dante Sealy is comfortable in MLS already, right? He grew up in MLS. He's played in MLS. That's not a problem. But now integrating into the club and integrating into the group itself, that was really interesting. And I'm really happy that, you know, new players are finding ways to feel more, comfortable because it is a very young defensive core, right? Joel Waterman is now the elder statesman. He's 28. So
It's a young core.
you do need this kind of this connection.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now we also one of the things that surprised me, Elias, was that came out of the press conference for me was that
Hmm.
Sealy said something. He said, "Yeah, I've been on trial, but we've already been in negotiations with CF Montreal. I already knew I was gonna get a
Yeah.
contract coming in
I
here."
mean, most of the time that is the case. It's very rare that someone just says, "I don't know, pull up," right? All these players that were signed, right? There were three signed players, right? Brendan Craig, Luca Petrasso, and Dante
Talk about
Sealy
that.
this week. Well, do you want to talk about it now?
Uh, no, not yet. But
Okay.
anyways, sorry, that's on me. But yeah, so some of the things that were said there, were said about about that, about the trial list and all that. Definitely an interesting press conferences, which I encourage you guys to go watch. Watch. You can watch it on YouTube, or you can also go read it in our Patreon, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But I do want to go. Was there anything else that stood out to you about the press conferences in particular that anybody said? Coach
Garden variety press
Courtois.
conferences, man.
Sorry?
No bombshells. There's
No,
nothing.
no,
Just
they're keeping it butter.
preseason press conferences. You get
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah, that's true. But there was an article that came out, which
There
did give
was
us
an
some
article that came out. Yes.
that gave us some really fun stuff to talk about. So let's go back to that RDS article, because Courtois, when they interviewed him for the article, for the same article, he seemed a little bit cagey about the intensity of the Montreal media that covers the team, and seemed to particularly take offense of how the media and fans perceived having Marco Donadel on his staff. What do you think of his reaction? And Elias, do you think he should have maybe gone on a different way, the way he responded to that, or
Look, he's never been one to shy away from confrontation in press conferences. We know this now about Laurent Courtois. If he has something on his mind that bothers him, he will say it. I'm not surprised he reacted that way. We talked about this earlier when they announced that Donadel had signed on. That yeah, that could be a source of tension, right? But that's all it could be. And I think that anything play the more you play into it, the more it becomes a thing. Right now, it is not a thing, right? They all have, delegation of duties, and they're doing it. The second we start going, okay, yeah, but what about this? What about remember that, he beat you for the job, and remember that, your assistant tried to get the same job as you, and now he's here. Like the second you start making it a thing, it becomes a thing.
mm,
So until it is a thing,
let it go?
who gives a shit?
Yeah,
Who gives a shit? There's so much more to talk about this club than hypothetical tension. There's already enough real life tension, not bad tension, just tension in general around this club. That you don't need to kind of not manufacture, it's not the right word. You don't have to drum up potential tension.
and that just to me, like, if you can see it on paper like that, Elias, but when you're present, like when we were present at Marie Victorin practice, Dude, everybody seems to have their role. Like everybody seems to be okay with what they're doing. Nobody's stepping over each other's toe. Like everybody's just doing their thing. And again, like you say, like we can grab a story and just fluff it up just for everybody to be like, oh my god, it's such a big story. No, no, but it's nothing. Like it's everybody seems to be okay with what's going on. I think Laurent Courtois is this what he's trying to tell us is, you know what, guys, like I'm just very appreciative that yes, I was consulted for him to bring on. It wasn't forced, and I appreciate everything he brings to the table. Like I
Of
just
course. How could you not appreciate having someone like Marco Donadel on your coaching staff?
exactly knows the city, knows
Right?
knows the club, has played and also worked
Coached at the high
outside in
level.
Europe. So that's something he brings a lot of wealth to the table, and I think that's all he's trying to say. Again, there's different ways to maybe say it that doesn't set off a fire, but I think he was also very critical about how Montreal media tends to, be very nitpicky and tries to get like the bad stuff and all that. But I mean, look, at the end of the day,
Welcome to Montreal.
yeah, right. Like what like clickbait, whatever you want. But it's the truth. Sometimes
Yeah.
there are people that just like to put it out there and maybe grab a certain kind of snippet or maybe a certain kind of quote and twist it around. But I mean, what are we gonna do? TMZ Montreal, right? So then we're gonna talk about the new, not so new players, right?
Yeah.
The new, not so new players. And I know I cut you off a little bit earlier, Elias. My bad. So CF Montreal added, I said trialists.
I mean, technically
Uh,
they were, right? They were
yeah,
invitees. They were on trial.
Dante Seeley, Brandon Craig. They
Luca
added.
Petrasco.
They officially signed, and Petrosa. Yeah.
Officially signed, put pen to paper,
Why did
yeah,
I not
officially.
put Petrosa on my list?
How dare you? Italian erasure.
But
Um,
yeah. So what
but
are your
yeah,
thoughts on that?
I don't really think that I'm too surprised. I said I saw Dante Seeley getting a contract just out of sheer necessity because again, they've got no left back besides
Yeah,
Tom Pierce.
situational.
Um, you have four, if you include Usman Jabang, depending on how he adapts to MLS, five decent MLS caliber defenders. You add someone like Brendan Craig, who is a very solid depth player. You add someone like Luca Petrasso, who again has been around the block, who understands MLS as a second and or third string, depending if you want, in a very similar role to David Bugay, where it's a left back that can kind of play left wing back, but also kind of play outside center back. You need bodies there, right? Because just throughout the wear and tear that you go through during an MLS season, you need the depth, and you could do a lot worse. You probably could do better, right?
Yeah,
But you could also do a lot worse. And I think these are just logical signings that, again, I talked about it. I wasn't super impressed with them because they're more focused on not making a mistake than trying to stand out. But sometimes with a defender, you don't need to stand out. Just do your damn job. And so you know what? Am I jumping for joy at these signings? No. Do I think that they make sense? Yeah, they make sense.
I like that. I like
Yeah,
that.
Robbie,
Now,
I was the one talking all kinds of shit, and yeah, absolutely. You know me, shit talker numero uno over here. Yeah.
he he attacked you, Elias. This is
Robbie,
this is. You guys know how much time
you and
Elias
me
spends like
on
doing
site,
snippets
bro.
and trying to like bash everybody.
Yeah, and get everybody out of context and just slander. Yeah. When I see you, Robbie,
so,
put your dukes up.
so then there was the assigning of academy players, 16-year-old forward Owen Graham Roach, which
Yes.
everybody was super excited about. And he was actually playing for Canada U17 today. And this was maybe like 30 minutes ago that I was watching the game. And he actually went up for a header, Elias, and landed terribly on his leg. And he was down in pain and it does not look pretty. I mean, he did one of these, Elias, where he just looked up at his leg and he was like, "No, no, I'm not, nope, nope." So,
Ugh.
I mean, look, I mean, I'm kind of laughing about it, but probably no joke. I mean, you're 16 years old and you're having that kind of injury. We have no idea if it's severe or light, but he couldn't, like, he needed help to walk out of field. He was limping heavily.
Ugh.
Again, 16-year-old. We talked a little bit earlier about Gilles Anthony saying and the trust to having your body and do the movements and what What?
One day. I just want one day of peace at this club. For God's sakes.
You will never have it.
No, apparently not. Oh.
Go.
Um no, look, I feel terribly because again, I talked about it at Kind of Say, I talked about it here with you. He was one of the bright spots
Yeah.
among the players looking for a contract. Right? He was one of the bright spots and he was a very interesting at 16, having the not just the ability, but the confidence to take grown ass men and dribble by them and take them on one. You know? I really enjoyed seeing him. Hopefully it's not as bad as, it's being made out to be. Again, but that's also just kind of the delusion that comes with being someone that follows CF Montreal. I hope the injury's not as bad as it is. So I stay with delusion. But
They're so close, though. They're so close. They're really close.
yeah. Yeah. But another player that I think merits kind of attention is Alexander Gaboglu, because he was the only player without a contract that played yesterday. He was the only one. And having him in the fold is super important.
Yeah.
And he's one of those players that is going to be super interesting and super dynamic, and who seems to be, at least from a physical perspective, ready for the physical toll that MLS takes on you in a game. And we talked about Sergei Kozlovsky, who's, again, he's 16 turning 17 or something like, or 17 already, but he's a 2008. Jesus Christ, he's 2008.
You know
But
what I
he's
was doing in 2008?
I was in school already. But yeah, he was a 2008, right? And physically, he still has some growing to do as a
Yeah.
defender. But Alexander Gaboglu, who does have a year or two on him, completely different scenario. He
Big
looked
boy.
great in training camp. He's got the build, he's got the composure, he's got the ability with the ball, the attacking smarts. Now he gets to learn how to defend in that position. But I wouldn't be surprised if in the coming weeks, because they still have roster spots open, I wouldn't be surprised in the coming weeks we also get news that he's signing a contract. I would
Yeah,
not be surprised in the
and
slightest.
Elias, that kind of that brings me to my next subject. So the Graham Roach signing seems to be the way the team envisions the future for the academy players. It really is a statement to me. The way I took that, Elias, when I saw that, I was like, this is a statement. This is a statement
100%.
of
A
what they're trying
16
to
year
do.
old, a 16-year-old signing?
16-year-old. And
Absolutely.
this is a huge statement to me. And not just that, Elias. Who's in the picture with him?
I don't remember.
Simone Saputo. He's
That
shaking
is what that was. Yeah,
yeah,
I
and
remember it was a Saputo, but I didn't. I don't remember.
I'm like, this is not only is that the signing a statement, but who's shaking his hand?
Yeah.
Just like we saw the other kid in Ukraine who was in the picture. It wasn't
Yep.
Corey Ray, it wasn't Gabriel Gervais, it was the Saputo kid.
They're you're not gonna see Corey Ray with a signing that's outside
Imagine.
MLS. Let's be honest. Yeah.
You speak English? But no, I mean, like it's statements. These are statements. So what do you think of this approach, Elias? Of this approach of them like signing 16-year-old
Look,
kids from the academy?
if you can't be a club that flaunts its ability to develop young talent without developing your academy kids. Because if you're just if you're just a team that buys young kids, improves them a little bit, and then sells them or gets them in better standing with their national team, or gets them ready for the next level of football, good. But you can't be a developmental club, successful developmental club, without the occasional rock star from the academy, without your Mathieu Chouanier, Ismail Kone, Nathan Saliba, right? You have those three. Those are arguably the three most successful academy graduates, pure academy graduates to come out the club in recent memory.
Especially with no MLS Next Pro.
Especially with you need the next crop of young players that are kind of carry that lineage. Yeah, getting in a Caden Clark and a Hinadi Sinchuk and Mahala Poku, Jalen Neal, all these players are smart signings that you are going to have success with. But if your academy does not thrive, then you're not a developmental club. You're just an opportunistic club.
I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. This guy is on fire at 4 p.m. Guys, we should do this more at 4 p.m. Nope, not doing it. So one last question for you here. No outgoing player announcements this week. If I remember correctly, Elias, there hasn't been any announcements of outgoing player. Do you think CF Montreal stays with this squad from now until the start of the season?
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
will there be more movements coming?
I mean, you never really can tell. I think that they've got all their positions filled now. Again, you bring in Alexander Guboglu, who I think is, very well could sign a contract and frankly deserves to have a contract. But besides that, this is the squad that they're going into the season with.
Like that. Me too. I do think there is going to be movement into MLS. That's what I think. I think there's going to be a few players that are going to be traded into MLS. I think the deadline's coming up soon, or it's already started. I don't know. Anyways, I'm not there yet. Elias, I want to do a quick exercise. Quick
Oh,
exercise to finish CF Montreal. We were playing in a 3-4-2-1. Okay, in a 3-4-2-1 formation. If today is the start of the season, who are your back three?
I mean, who else? Alvarez, Waterman, and Campbell.
Agreed. Right wing back.
Ezekiel Marshall, Rudy.
Okay, JMR. Two midfields.
Saliba and Piet.
Okay. I say Herbers instead of
Finish your question, and you'll see why.
Why you gotta? Why you gotta?
No. Finish your question. You'll see why.
Left wing back.
Javiers.
Tom Pierce, Sealy, 1000%. Anyways, the two on top,
Herbers and Clark.
Duke and Clark. Top,
Vilsain.
Vilsain.
If Owusu is missing open nets, and Vrioni hasn't even trained with the club yet, and Sunusi is best used as a super sub, how many more strikers do you want on this club?
Do you think
Vilsain is the next one.
you, you think
Vilsain has a
being
perfect opportunity to carve out his spot in the starting, not just the squad, the starting 11 right now. And he has to take full advantage of it. He got an assist in the game, but we didn't see how well he played or how well he didn't play during the game. This next month is arguably one of the most important months of his career, of his entire career. And he has the ability now to make himself one of the first names on the team sheet if he keeps playing at that level.
as a striker? I
Striker.
haven't seen him been training as a striker.
He hasn't, but he does have the versatility to play like that.
I think they're gonna put Owusu up there, even if he's been missing, just because they want to be patient with him. Anyways, that's just if it's today
We will wait and see.
with the little that we've seen. With the little. Anyways, we're gonna move on to our last topic of the day because, as you guys know, there is a
before
big,
that, we got one question
yes.
from Guligo. We talked about Donadel, but Biello news. So before the when they announced the squad that was heading to Orlando, they also announced that Alessandro Biello was staying back to look for a loan.
Yeah,
I think this is the logical decision, especially after bringing in Victor Laturi. What do you think is a potential landing spot, and what do you kind of want to get? Do you want us to be a similar output as Jabang? Do you want something else? What do you want to see from him? Because Jabang, I feel, was more of a finished product when he went on loan. From a physical perspective, what do you want to see when he comes back?
I want him to get minutes, and I want him to kind of show the people watching him kind of define who he is as a player, man. Because when we see him in practice, we see him be a center back, we've seen him be a midfielder, we've seen him be a wing back. Who is he as a player? I won't. If they're gonna try in different positions, like how well is he in that position? Because right now, Elias, I don't know, maybe you have a different perspective on it, but I don't really know who Alessandro Biello is as a player. I mean, he played, I think, last year in the Forge game when they were losing, and he played a rather midfield position along with Victor Wanyama towards the end of the game, which was very interesting to see. But you definitely want to see him build his game and define what position he's best at to the team. He needs to get more playing minutes wherever it is. If it's Halifax Wanderers, if it's in the USL CPL, I don't know. But I think he needs to show the CF Montreal fans who he is as a player. What do you think, Elias?
I think he has the potential to be, at this club, a player like Marco Donadel. I think he has that potential. The one thing that, from a technical perspective, I believe absolutely he can get there. That I have no doubt, because technically speaking, and you saw it, technically speaking, on the ball, he is as good as almost any other midfielder there. But the thing is, the second he goes into a 50-50, or the second he has to run somebody down, he looks like a kid again. That's
Yeah.
when he shows that he looks like an academy kid. He gets bullied off the ball. He does not have the legs to keep up. And when you mix both those things together, you're not in a team that's going to have 60, 65, 70% possession of the ball. You're going to need to run, you're going to need to win the ball back, and then you're going to have to keep the ball off of people. You can't do that when you weigh 160 pounds soaking wet and you don't throw your body around. So the only thing, I mean, obviously there's many things, but the only priority that I have for Alessandro Biello is to work on his assertiveness and build the body to utilize that assertiveness. Because when he's for his age, he's a master at letting the game come to him and letting that kind of play develop, and just him to be a conduit for everything to flow through him. Great at that. But when it comes to him physically taking a game by the reins, he does not have that ability. And you are playing in a team where you need to be able to do that, because you can't just hold the ball the entire game. That's not what this club is going to do. That's not what this current squad is going to do. So that's what I want to see from him on loan. Yes, minutes are important, but it's how you use those minutes.
Yeah, I like that.
And that's why I don't want him to go to a club that's just going to walk through everybody. I want him to I want you to struggle a little bit, I want you to fight. I want you to, be in games where it's a dogfight and possession is 50-50. And there's a 70% pass completion rate for both teams. And it's just dogfight. I need to see that in it.
And that's what I think you mentioned in a few episodes ago, Elias. That something we saw, that one of the biggest developments we saw under Hernan Losada with Nathan Saliba was his
Yeah.
assertiveness in the game, his presence on the field. He was not
Gotta
a
give
kid.
Losada credit sometimes,
Yeah, he still there, but I mean, like you're absolutely right. Like it was, he made his presence felt amongst veteran
Absolutely.
MLS players, and that's when you're ready for the next level. And that's why I think that the rumors started getting really fired up for European clubs, because they said, hey, this kid, he's unafraid. He's not, he's ready for that next level. So we'll see. We're not going to get into the Nathan Saliba discussion. There was one question in the chat here from Martin Gauthier, who said, on that integration point, how do you foresee Sinchuk's integration at 18?
Yeah. No, and we talked a bit about it 2 weeks
Last
ago, I
week,
think,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's so important. And it's so important that I don't mind if he doesn't start a game for the first 3-4 months. I don't mind if he doesn't start a game until June.
CPL games?
You mean Canchap?
Sorry, Canadian Championship game?
I mean, we're kind of splitting hairs here, right?
Mhm.
Because the first games are against Toronto, so it's basically an MLS game.
True.
So I don't mind, because again, the adaptation to life in Montreal, not football, just going from Ukraine to Montreal is worth a couple months just to kind of grow. You're a teenager still, you're a kid, right? Just to kind of situate yourself and get comfortable. After that, learning a new system, learning new teammates, learning how to play in a new language, right? Not just communicate, but how to speak football and how to communicate with your teammates in a new language. All these things, you're thrusting it on an 18-year-old that already has all this pressure because of the situation that he signed in, with a big transfer fee, with a 4-year contract. There's clear that the club rates him very highly and is putting a lot of the brunt of the future on him. He's an 18-year-old kid, man. All right. So yeah, his integration, I hope it's gradual. I hope they don't rush him in. I hope they take more time than necessary, just to ensure that he is as comfortable for when they want to really start working him properly. And up until then, yeah, you give him minutes here and there. Obviously, you don't completely starve the kid. That's not healthy either. But I don't want them to start, almost that kind of Bryce Duke treatment when he got here, when he got off the plane on a Tuesday and started on Saturday, and then started the next 5 games in a row. No.
Yeah.
Relax. Take it easy.
Yeah.
Get used to the group,
Take it down
right?
a
The house,
notch, guys.
it's the beginning of the season. The house isn't on fire yet. Just get used to it, you know?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So I agree with you, man. It's. I think we're all excited to see the next shiny thing coming out of the market, and everybody wants to have a sneak peek at look at it. But I think we just got to be patient with it. So let's move on to our last topic of the day.
Absolutely.
Roses FC starting, and their squad is
Roses
starting to take shape.
FC.
They're starting to
Yes.
take shape, right? From their home stadium, which we talked about last week, right? To a bunch of new signings. It seems like
Yeah.
every day I'm getting pop-ups of new signings that they're making. What's your? I know I gave you a little. I don't know if you have it there, Elias. I give you a little
We
chart of
do. Yeah, we've got it.
what
We've
the
got a
squad.
whole roster.
Yeah. So what is your take on what the squad looks like today? I mean, I personally haven't seen them play. Maybe Elias, you know, recognize some of these names. Have you seen them play? But I mean, there's a lot of local
There
talent
is.
local
There is.
talent that weren't
And I
necessarily
love it.
playing here. They were playing, as you guys can see, previous clubs. They were playing either in Europe, US, or even some of them locally here. Um, yeah. What do you make of that list, Elias?
The first thing that sticks out to me is the fact that there's two players not over the age of 30 that are over the age of 28, right? There's only two. You've got Charlotte Bilbao, who is a bona fide legend of French football. And you have Gabrielle Lambert, again, who applied her trade in Germany, which is arguably the second in competition with France for the second best women's league in Europe, which makes it automatically like a top three league in the world if you include NSL, right? So these are players that are coming in with experience. You include Alexandria Heiss, who played again for Duisburg in Germany. German women's football has been at the forefront for decades now, right? So you get all these players with not just experience, but experience at a top level coming in to train and help grow all these younger players, right? You've got like 24, 23, 24, 20, 26, all these, right? I love it. You got some local players too. You have Stephanie Hill and Mara Bouchard, who are from McGill. Phenomenal players. Also, Stephanie Hill from Dollard. Shout out Dollard. That's where I'm from. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. New
West
York.
Island represent. Let's go. But you got yeah, Steph. And again, I remember some of these players from when I was covering women's soccer in when I was at Concordia, right? Anne-Marie Laroche, who's the goalie for Laval Rouge et Or, excellent keeper. And
Yeah, but you
you're
know,
learning behind a player who played at the top level. This is you could not have a better setup for your keepers to learn from, right? Another really interesting player, again, locally, Laurie Thibault, a midfielder from UDM. It's one of the best players in the country. In the country. Stephanie Hill, we just talked about her, one of the best defenders in the country, right? Not just in RSCQ, not just at McGill, in the nation. And I think that you look at this roster, you've got a mix of young local talent, you've got a mix of Canadian talent from abroad. You have a really interesting profile that I think is going to do a very good job in attracting people over the joueurs d'ici, right? Over the joueurs d'ici.
that's it.
We the ici, right? We want Quebecois talent, right? It's not just CF Montreal that gets dibs on being able to promote local talent. It's also the women's team, and they're doing it because again, you take a look at the demographic of the national team picture, the national championship picture in youth sports. It is excellent, and it's so well represented by Quebec. They've always got one or two teams that are always near the top of the rankings. They've always got one or two teams that go far in the national championship. And it's for that reason that I see this roster so full of Quebecois talent. I'm thrilled
Yeah.
because Quebecois women's soccer is phenomenal. And I can't wait to see them display that.
And that's something that stands out to me too, Eliza, when I see that, because one thing that when I interviewed a lot of European people that have worked here in Quebec that came to work with the Montreal Impact, CF Montreal, one of the things that they were surprised about the Europeans was they said, something that's special about Montreal is how the fans, the Montrealers, the people from Quebec, they need to connect with local players. They need to connect with the players on the field. And that's something that's very special about Montreal is that the fact that the academy or local people that played in local CJEPs, like you said, Elias, right? You've seen them growing up. You've seen them like here and there. Maybe they're from the same neighborhood. Maybe you know that whatever it is, the local having local talent, being able to connect through that is such a major part of what the Montreal sporting scene is,
Mhm.
right? So and we see that in the CF Montreal Academy, and now we're seeing it with Roses FC. Very important, and like you said, they're renowned. Now it's funny because I was reading a little bit about Annie Laroche, the second goalkeeper, and it looks like I don't know the details of her life, but when the description that the team released, it looks like she had been studying. She was at school studying for nursing, I believe, or something of that sort. So it's like you said, such a goalkeeper that has gone through so much as at 34 years old and has seen probably the biggest to someone that is local, and probably must be a great lesson for her every single day while they're practicing, right? To be
Absolutely.
to be
Yeah.
exposed to kind of
Martin has a question about the home value about Bois Boulogne. You want to? We have a great discussion about it last
not
week.
go back to
You can
that.
go watch last week's
Let's
episode.
not go back to that.
Yeah, it's been confirmed that Claude Robial is under major reconstruction for the first 2 years. They
Mhm.
put a post out actually, and that's exactly what I wanted, right? I wanted explanations and I wanted justifications. I wanted plans for the future, right? And they kind of confirmed it that for the time being, Bois Boulogne is a temporary space. And again, I'm operating under the assumption that the reason they talked about Claude Robial so much is because the plan is to eventually go there, right? Which I think is a no-brainer, especially once it's modernized and once the pitch is renovated and once everything, the facilities are renovated, it's going to be an incredible home for women's soccer in Montreal and in Quebec. So I hope they do really make it a hub of women's soccer, and it almost as if, because it's an SBX thing, right? They're not going to build a whole new stadium. CF Montreal can build a whole new stadium, let alone a new league, right? So I'm looking forward to it. With that explanation, I'm a little bit less grumpy about Boulogne. I still don't like going to Laval. It's not gonna change. That's not gonna change.
It was a whole thing,
Unless
guys.
I'm less grumpy, but I'm also not thrilled about going to Laval to watch the team.
It's a personal thing with Elias.
It's
Anyways,
personal.
so based on what we see, would you say they're missing anything before they start their inaugural season based on that roster? Would you want to see something added, or do you think they're a complete
I
squad?
mean, when you pull up this roster, right, it looks still a little bit thin. We don't know what their formation is going to be. They've got a lot of forwards. I think their forward depth is solid and complete, but I'd love to see a bit more depth in the midfield, a bit more depth in defense. Right, there's only 4 technically defenders that, again, based on this list that are signed, 5 midfielders, right, and one of them is a defender slash, one of those versatile players that can do a bit of both. There's still some depth that needs to get brought in. I do think that they need another big signing. That would be cool. I'm not gonna hold them to that because I like what the squad is looking like already. But I wouldn't hate it if they made another nice little splash. We saw the attention that signing Quinn gets you. That's world class player. Maybe
Yeah,
tries
that's what we
maybe
want. We
try
want the
something like that.
splash. Yeah,
I'd love to see them get someone that's in the national team. That'd be awesome. Are you kidding me?
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I can't pinpoint anything that's missing. They just need to flesh out the squad a bit more, right? Get a third keeper, get some more defenders, get some more midfielders, build your group,
Yeah, I think the midfield position, especially
and a
depending
bit
on how.
of experience too, right? It's having a young squad is a good thing, but you need veterans, you need people to guide the youngsters.
Yeah, and maybe a little bit more depth in goalkeeping and midfielder. Just that, I think at this point they're missing a little bit of that, unless they want to, of course, make a big splash, which would be fantastic for
No,
the for
I'm
their
not saying
inaugural
no.
season.
Go for it.
But but yeah, I know Martin kind of asked the question, but I'm gonna go ahead and just ask it anyways. So Roses FC also published as you mentioned, the lies a little earlier, the FAQ posting responding to questions about their home stadium. They mentioned that they are still in ongoing negotiations with CF Montreal to share Stade
I'd
Saputo.
love that. I'd love that.
But when we spoke to Gabriel Gervais last week, it almost seemed like Roses FC at Stade Saputo was not really an option. Do you think there's two different messages here? Like, are we talking about the same thing? I mean, it's kind of
I think
strange.
they're, yeah, I think he's trying to downplay it. I think they're maybe just naturally a bit more optimistic. I'm not really upset at. I'm not really upset about them not playing at Stade Saputo because when you look at the PWHL team, the Montreal Victoire, when they played at the Bell Center, that was after selling out Place Bell several times. That was after selling out the Verdun Auditorium several times, right? So they were good for it. If they go and the attendance at Bois Boulogne is good, then you can kind of venture to the next step, right? I
Selling point.
don't
Yeah.
think they're gonna sell Stade Saputo. I mean, if the national team couldn't sell, I don't think they sold out Stade Saputo. I think they were like 17,000, I believe, if I
Yeah.
wasn't mistaken.
Yeah.
It
It
was a shit ton,
definitely didn't sell
but
out.
they
Yeah.
didn't sell it out, right? I don't think a club team will, but if they can get it up to 10, 12, 13, 14,000, then absolutely that would be a great game. And again, if you're CF Montreal, you've gone through all this length to have the women's academy team that's doing so well, that's kind of running the gambit in Ligue 1, Quebec on the women's side. You have to make a covenant with women's football in this city. You can't just be like, we have an academy team that's really good. Fuck everything else. Like, right? You have to now be the ones to extend that olive branch, right?
Yeah.
I think it'd be a really good. Well, it's a really good way to continue to promote women's football. They've
Yeah.
done again. You have your academy team. That's the bare minimum. Good job. Now take it to the next level.
I think yeah, CF Montreal's kind of taking that wait and see approach. See, like, hey, how's Roses FC gonna go ahead and perform out there and do their thing, and how and can that be translated well into Stats Saputo? So
Yeah.
big wait and see. We'll see. Look, I have one last question before we end the show here, Elias. Are you Taylor Swift, or are you a Swifty, or are you Philadelphia Eagles tonight?
I'm just watching for the Kendrick Lamar halftime show.
Yes,
All I'm
sir.
excited about.
Let's go.
No, I mean, again, like I'm not. I don't have a team.
Damn it.
I don't love
Anticlimactic.
quote unquote evil empires in sports. And that's what the Kansas City Chiefs are. I mean, I obviously I don't like Real Madrid for the same reason. I mean, for many reasons, but that's one of them, right? It's the same reason I don't like the Patriots. Same reason
Yeah, baby.
I mean,
Hate those
the
Patriots.
Warriors were fun, but that's after a certain point. It's okay, other people have to win
Yeah.
now. I'd like to see the Eagles win. I like Saquon Barkley. I think he's cool. I think he's a really good player.
Nasty.
I think either way, it's going to be insufferable because Philadelphia sports fans, respectfully, are just kind of nuts. And if they win, it'll be insufferable. If the Chiefs win, it'll be insufferable for an entirely different reason. So
Honestly,
I'm here for the
I,
Kendrick Lamar halftime show.
I love it.
I'd like to reiterate that.
I I actually don't want any of the teams to win. I hate them both. I don't stand for any of them. So I just want to see a fun football game,
I want a
and
tie,
yeah, I want everybody to
but
lose.
nobody wins.
So
Not both teams.
yeah, man. No, great halftime show. I'm sure my wife is gonna be all over that because she always loves the halftime show. She might not recognize the artist. It doesn't matter. Anyways, so definitely enjoy those that are listening. Thank you so much for listening to us tonight. We hope you enjoy the Super Bowl as well. If you watch it or not, it's okay. But thank you to everyone who joined us tonight. We hope you enjoyed tonight's show. As always, the podcast will always be free to listen and watch on all of our platforms. Make sure to check out our Patreon page for exclusive member content. And don't forget to sign up and support the show, which will allow us to grow the product. Again, a big shout out to all of you who joined the Patreon this week. We see you, we see you, we see you. And thank you again to all of you who tuned in this afternoon, not even tonight, this afternoon. And see you next week for episode 214 of The Ball is Round.